Hey everybody, how's it going? Today we're going to be answering a question that probably nobody's ever asked, but I'm going to answer it for you. We're going to see if we can get some of these Ram towing mirrors to fit on the Grand Cherokee. I think it should be a fairly simple swap. We may have to drill holes, but when I was looking at the bolt pattern on the back of these, it's fairly small like the Grand Cherokee's is, so these might just bolt on. And I kept the power and heated with this mirror to that, which will be good. I'm not sure if the new mirror is going to work with the memory settings because my Grand Cherokee has the memory stuff. Electric should work though, and we're going to lose the auto dim function on this mirror. That one does not have it, but we should still retain auto dimming on the center. So we're going to go ahead and take this door panel off. It's fairly simple. You can look up how to do it if you've never done it before, but I'm going to pull this off and we'll just go ahead and jump right in. Alright, so I got this mirror removed off the Jeep. Fairly straightforward. Pull the door panel off. There's this fuzzy piece that you unstick from there. Some of mine came off. That's whatever. And then it's three 10 mil nuts off of these here, and we might reuse these studs. Get some trash off there so it doesn't blow away. We might end up reusing these studs because they're much shorter than the ones that came with the tow mirrors. Right off the bat, you can see that these plugs are not the same. This one right there, you can see the plug is for a 6-pin, even though there's only 5 in there. And that one looks like it's for 10, maybe 12. So you'll definitely have to cut this wire harness, and we'll splice the power options from here to here. I can go ahead and do a write-up on all that and make sure I get all my colors correct. Some of that will be trial and error. So we should have power up down, power left right, and then power for heating. It doesn't look like the colors are going to correspond. Anyways, I'll get to that in a little bit. But first off, I'm going to put some studs into here, and we're going to hold it up to the Jeep and see how close it fits. Alright, so if you look here, I'm trying to show you guys as much as I can, recording by myself. The bolt pattern for the truck is actually smaller, which is interesting. I thought it would have been bigger if anything. So we're definitely going to have to drill some new holes. But one thing that's nice is these mirrors came with a backing plate. Set that down so I don't scuff it up. They came with this backing plate here, which will help be both a template to drill new holes and good to put back up in here to help support the mirror once we put it back on, just so that we don't rip out the holes, because they're going to be really close to the centerpiece here when we re-drill. And it looks like it's double plated here, so it may take a minute to drill those holes, but just be patient. But I'm going to go grab the Sharpie and hold this plate up, maybe start drilling some holes, and we'll go from there. So I just figured out, I'm just kind of doing this as I go along. I just took one of the studs in there, and it lined up. You can see right where my silicone is, right on that hole, and with the one stud going through there, the mirror lines up perfect. So we can actually use that to our advantage, because now, instead of having to use the silicone and get everything messy, we can use one of these plates. And I know this is the right, you can see R right there, but it mounts like this on the inside. And they've got the same bolt pattern, so we can kind of hold that up and mark with a Sharpie through the holes and drill the holes that way. But like I said, this one's already done, so we just have to do one up, which would be really convenient if it lined up with that spot weld, and then one over, which is really close to this hole right here, but I'll figure it out and I'll take you guys along. Alright, here it is mounted. I haven't done what I want to with the thing there yet, but what you can see, I finally got the holes all figured out and fairly well lined up. The trick is on these backing plates that it comes with is to cut off the corner. Let me grab the other one. So we'll use this one for reference. It's just the opposite. So you got to cut this corner off because it comes out fairly far here and it doesn't let this plate suck down onto the Jeep. And then you also have to cut this tab off because it keeps this side from sucking up close to the Jeep. and we want to be able to fit our door panel on still. So I think we're going to end up grinding these studs. This one might be okay, but this one and this one especially are pretty long. I did not end up needing to use a spacer for this one, but these two, because of the dead spot that these come with, you can see there's a, maybe, there you go, you can see there's no threads for a pretty significant spot right there. Because of that dead spot, I had to use some spacers, but it's mounted up, so you can see it's fairly sturdy on there. I guess you can't see, but it actually doesn't look too bad. I think if I had some wheels that had a little bit of stance, that might look a lot better. But it's certainly a lot bigger than what it started as, huh? So I guess I'm gonna stop on that one. I'm gonna mount the other mirror over there so I can do all my cutting and stuff while it's still light out and not annoy the neighbors too much. And that way, if I have to, I can do my wiring at another time. Yeah, there it is. You can see it hugs up on this fairly well, and it fit over that just perfect. About as perfect as you could ask anyways. These are just off of eBay or Amazon, one of the two. Cheap generic mirrors. Yeah, like I said, I'll continue. Get that other side off, and we'll go from there. Alright, so I'm working on the other side here. One thing I figured out after I did the other one all the way through is that these mirrors actually came with a template. It's hard to see, but you can see there's a little plus right there. There's one right here, and another one there. And the center of those is exactly where the bolts line up. So you can take this, and given that you have it flipped up the right way, you can line this bottom hole up with the bolt hole that is already there, and then mark your other two before you drill, right there and there. So easy enough. Just a little tip I thought I'd tell you. And I'll leave the link to these mirrors down in the description. I don't know how long they'll be up for sale or whatever. Under that specific seller, you know how these cheap parts are, they come and go kind of quickly, so I'll post it there. But these are mirrors off of a for a 2000, like a 96 to 2000 Ram 1500. So anyways, we get to work. Ladies and gentlemen, we have tow mirrors on the Grand Cherokee. I haven't wired anything up yet. I'll show that when I get around to that. I don't think I'm going to do it today. As you can see, I am rapidly running out of sunlight. But we've got them on, and the first thing everybody's going to want to see, of course, is how do they look flipped up. Gosh, this is so funny. Like I said, this might be something that might look a lot better with some stance, and I'm certainly not going to run them like this like I do on my truck. As you can see on the truck, I've got a lot of stance. That one's folded in, that's why it looks weird. I guess it's not a lot. I have some stance. It pokes a little bit, but it's a lot bigger and I tow with it all the time, so those are up. This is going to tow 0 of the time, but I just thought this would be a fun video to make. It's certainly going to be helpful having the blind spot mirrors, and like I said, I'm going to run them down like that. But yeah, I'm going to park this thing for today. I'll come back tomorrow, maybe the next day, to get these bad boys all wired up so we can get our power operated back. I'll let you know how all that goes. Oh, golly. Oh, on the passenger side, let's see, that one's driver, this one's passenger. The mirror, you can see, has a lot less wire going to it, which is actually going to help us tremendously on all of this stuff here. Because the wires that are matching colors, like you can see, red, white, black, and orange. You can see on this one, red, white, black, and orange. So if I had to guess, red and white are going to be for the power mirror functions, up, down, left, right. Black is of course going to be ground, and you can see there's actually 2 grounds there, and that's just because there's the way the power mirrors work is, for example, if red is for up and down, it'll give power through red and ground through black to move up, and then it'll flip it, give power through black and then ground through red to go the opposite direction. It's a pretty simple system. But I imagine orange is going to be our defroster. And then that means on this side, we have brown, purple, and gray. Those are probably for our auto dim and for our memory. We're not going to worry about auto dim and memory though. It's not going to come in too handy. But anyways, that's all for today. I'm going to clean up, go inside. Catch you when I get back on this again. It is round 2 today, working on these tow mirrors, and we are going to get the wiring done. I have my door panel sitting outside, and I have a little space heater going because it is pretty cold out today. But one thing I don't know if I mentioned in the rest of the video, and maybe I did, maybe I didn't, but just to recap, the reason that we got the mirrors off of the 96 to 01 Ram 1500 is not because of the bolt pattern or the plate or anything. That comes with a lot of aftermarket tow mirrors. But the reason that I got this style is because it has this long wire coming off of it, just like the factory mirrors do here. So that way we can plug it back in, because the mirrors, if you don't know, on these Grand Cherokees, this is the plug for the controls here, like this, but on the driver's side. So this plugs right into the back of that, and the mirror harness also comes over and plugs into the back of that. And you can see this one's actually a little bit short. I don't know if it would actually reach or not, but we have plenty to work with here, because I'm going to cut probably about right here, so that I can maintain my plug-in connector for the Jeep. There are other ways you could do it. You could go to the junkyard and cut one of these clips out, and they'd probably give it to you for free or $1 or something. But these mirrors are so plentiful at junkyards and on Facebook and just anywhere that you can find these Grand Cherokees, because there are so many of them, that I'm not worried about cutting these, and I don't plan on going back to that when I could have that. So, without further ado, I'm going to get started. One thing that's really helpful when you're doing the wiring, you can come in here with a power supply and probe each of these to see what they do. Or you can go online and you can find a wire diagram or a harness pinout where it shows a picture of the clip like this and tells you what each of the things does. I'll put that in the video right here. I've got one for the Ram towing mirrors, both driver and passenger, just off of the internet, off of a forum. People are really helpful on forums sometimes. And then also the Grand Cherokee, I have the pinout here off of, I think it's wjjeeps.com. If you guys work on Grand Cherokees, the WJs anyways, and haven't heard of that website, I highly recommend you go check it out. They have really good information and really comprehensive information on just about anything with the wiring system, swapping parts, what you can get with what, trim levels, pretty much anything you could want to know about these Grand Cherokees. They've got something about it on their website. So I got that pinout from there, and we're just going to match the pinout from the Grand Cherokee mirror to the Ram mirror, and then our functions should just work properly. And one thing to note, if you've never owned a truck with these mirrors on it, when you flip the mirror up, your controls are now sideways. It doesn't adjust to make it to where left is still left when you flip it up. So that's one thing to keep in mind if you haven't flipped up and you're wondering why it's working weird. It's something to think about. Anyways, I only got 2 hands and I need my phone to look at the pinouts, so once I get this one fairly wired up, I'll plug it into the door and we'll see if it works. Another thing I forgot to mention, when you have your door little computer controller thing right here unplugged, It is more than just switches. It will actually leave your interior lights on as if the door was open, even if your door was shut. So if you notice that while you're working, don't freak out, nothing's broken. It's simply because you have either your driver or passenger, it does it on both of them, your harness unplugged. Just keep that in mind. All right, door panel's back on. Like I showed you guys, I had the mirror wired up to the Grand Cherokee plug, and I've got it in left here, so we will try to get the whole thing in the frame. Go to the left, we'll go to the right, up, and down, and look at that. We've got all of our power function working exactly like it should. So now, seeing that this all works, I'm going to hop over to the passenger side. It should be pretty much the same process. The only difference is the passenger mirror here has a lot less wires than the driver one, because I don't think the passenger does memory. I think it only has the common driver up down, driver left right, and the heater circuit. So I'll pull that door panel off, I'll show you, I'll try to set this up, and then once it's all done, I'll show you that this mirror works. I went ahead and just did this side because conveniently, so for the stock harness, let me see, my gosh, there we go. For the stock harness, all the wire colors are the same, and for these aftermarket mirrors, all the wire colors were the same between the two, which I can show you here. You can see from top right going across was red, yellow, green, and then the bottom was black, black. Before you just cut this off, you need to pretty well make sure you know which black wire goes to which, because one of them is ground and one of them is a heater, the heated mirror positive. Now, the heater circuit does not care which way positive and negative comes into it. However, the module on the Jeep might, so that's the reason I was pretty careful on which way those were. And the auto mirrors, like the tilt, shouldn't really matter if you get that ground switched one way or the other. But anyways, this harness, so since the two harnesses were the same, I was able to actually just copy the colors from the other side, which you should be careful, don't just assume. Always check the pinouts, which is what I did before just splicing them all together. But I've got them all connected up. I still got to wrap this up, and then this should just plug in and work just like the other side. So another thing I wanted to point out, you can see with these cheap mirrors there's a pretty sizable gap right there. That's actually because I tightened these with my impact gun just to save time, and the furthest one forward, you can see the stud is way long, so I tightened it so much it actually twisted the plastic casing a little bit, so I need to loosen that up to fix that gap. Something to be careful of. But anyways, I'm going to plug this in, show you that it works. Alright, I've got this one all put back together, and as you can clearly see, we have full power functionality, just like we wanted. So these plugged up pretty easily. That was fairly easy to wire up. It's pretty much just a game of matching, but both of them work. There's that one. Again, here's this one. And right from the factory controls here, like I said, one thing that I'm going to be missing out on is I won't have the memory function anymore, or the auto dim. You can see mine has the auto dimming function there, so I won't have either of those. I don't really care about that though. One thing to note, which is something a lot of people said on the reviews for these particular mirrors, is the range of motion is not very good. This mirror is actually as far up as it goes, and so is that one, and it's really not all that high. So read reviews on whichever mirrors you buy just to be safe. I got the gap straightened out a little bit on that side. I need to loosen it some more, but they do both look like this when they came out of the box. I think that's going to be all for the video though. I've got the mirrors completely on, I've got the door panels back on, and that's about as far as we're going to get. So thanks for watching. I hope this is something that you guys kind of enjoy, whether it's funny or whether it's actually something useful for you, which I know this blind spot mirror is going to be useful. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more, and hope to see you in another video.